Hello again from Cedar Cove Farm. We are on what, part three of planter preparation. We got parts, so I'm hoping these parts work. The planter we have is so old that nothing actually said these are the right parts. I did some looking around and I think these will work, so time to get into the shop and put them on and see what it looks like. I am back at the planter. So you can see where I left off here, the old finger assembly, a handful of fingers, they're off. What I have here is a brand new assembly. We've got our fingers, they're all in good shape, but I have one problem looking at this. So I'll show you here on the back side. If we can see here, there's this cast piece in the center. So right here, may be hard to see, there's a ramp. And that ramp is actually what's gonna, as this rotates, this cast piece stays still. And so as the rest of the disc and the fingers rotate, that's what's gonna open and close the finger. The problem I have is this cast piece has a keyway, so that holds that cast piece in place. When I go over to the planter, this is the old ramp section. It has two fingers that hold it in to the meter. So that means these aren't directly interchangeable. What that means is I'm gonna have to see if I can get this old piece, take out this new piece in the center, and install this old piece, because this is what I need, because I don't have a keyway to lock into. So I'm gonna take this apart, clean this one up a little bit, and see if I can get it installed. My head looks gigantic. So these fingers, they just kind of snap in, and there's all these little springs that are holding this together, and they're probably gonna try and go everywhere. As I snap these out, all right, so I'm in luck. This just fell out. So I'm gonna clean this up. Looks like it fits just fine. I'll clean this up, snap these back in, and install it and see where we're at. I'm hoping this should just clean up with a little bit of sandpaper, emery cloth. The fun part will be snapping these back in. I can imagine that might be difficult, but we'll find out. I got a couple pieces of sandpaper, razor blade. These work really well for scraping. So let's see here. You can see, maybe you can see this chunk. So that cleans it up. So I'm gonna clean these up. You'll get to see fast forward version of this. Fast forward version with a camera phone. All right, it's not perfect, but it'll work. This surface is really just sitting here. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. I just figured I'd clean it up a little bit. So now the next part is to assemble the fingers in. I've got the other new one, so I make sure the fingers go the right way for reference. That's always handy if you're ever taking something apart and putting things back together. As I feared, this is just falling apart, but we'll try and snap these in. I gotta go grab some pliers to try and get these little tiny springs back in. That's probably gonna be the hardest part. All right, everything is in. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. So what I'll try and do, let's see if I can show you guys how this works. So if you watch the fingers here, I'm gonna rotate this piece on the back. And you can see the fingers open and close. So this piece, when we put it in the planter, this piece won't move, but the wheel will. So that's what will open and close the fingers and pick up the seed. So it's time to get this installed onto the planter, and we should be able to test it out. The hardest portion is going to be these two fingers have to go here, but there's also a keyway. If you look at the very center, there's a 4-way slot. There's a roll pin on this shaft, so that's what is actually connecting the shaft to the wheel to spin the wheel. So that's going to be the hardest part to line up. All right, turns out secondary issue. This plastic piece, this is too small for the shaft. So now that I got everything reassembled, I'm gonna take it all back apart, take my old piece that's, it's seen better days, but it's what I got, and it's my only option. So I know this fits over the shaft because it came off of the shaft. I'm going to take everything off of here, put it onto here, and try again. Test fit parts before you assemble them into new things. Success. When you reuse old parts, they tend to work, at least for fit. So, my camera hooked onto a socket. Now we've got it on. So let's see. If you look down here, remember the seed puddle. Sorry, the camera keeps finding everything that's magnetic. The seed puddle would be down here. You can see the fingers open. As I rotate, you see the fingers closing. As we come up and around, it's releasing the seed and stays open. Comes down in where the seed puddle would be, grabs that seed, traps it, brings it up, and drops it in. Now that that's on, that's together, everything looks good. I'll show you another few things here within the meter. So as we spin this, you may not be able to see it, but there's a little ridge here and here. That's what's known as a double eliminator. So if you get two seeds that get stuck under here, this little ridge is enough to kind of bounce one seed out but keep the other seed there. And then as we move over here, you can see, maybe you can't see, this kind of slopes in to kind of guide the seed down into the paddles to come down and out. So I am going to get this nut tightened up and get the cotter key back in place, and then we'll put that meter section back on here, throw some seed in, and see if it's picking up seed. All right, we're going to tighten this nut up to 22 inch-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench that goes that low, so I'm going to guess. All right, that's back together. Next step is to put the cover on. I'll pour some seed in and see if it seems to be picking it up. Cover is on. I've got my old seed here. I'm gonna throw that in. Try and do it without spilling everywhere. Now it's time to test it. Let's see what happens. So you can just barely see, and it may be too dark, one of the fingers there. What I'm gonna do is put you guys down here underneath. I'm gonna spin the tire, and you should see seed start to flow out of here. So I'm gonna knock away. Everything that's already on the ground, and spin the tire, and hopefully seed starts coming out. Well, look at that. It works. That seems a lot better than it was. I guarantee it's a lot better than it was. That was the only Well, that's the only fix that I know of, so that's good to know. Time to just finish putting everything back together. While I've got the bin off, I'm gonna just grease up these chains. It's chain drive, so just get some lube in there before everything's put back together. And it's back together. This one is done. I'm gonna move over to the other one. It's gonna be the same thing. You guys don't need to ride along for that. But that's all I got. Planter prep is pretty much done. I'll have to do some tweaking when we actually get out in the field to adjust how these closing discs work. I'll go over that in the future. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for coming out to Cedar Cove Farm. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the drill by now. That really helps us out, and we really like to hear what you guys have to say and get back to you. Thanks for coming out.